My name is Dean Melanson, and I live in the village of Hyannis. I've experienced a lot of very enjoyable events at the town. You know, some a little melancholy, like watching the old Kennedy rink get demolished, but then enjoyable in attending the dedication of the new Youth and Community Center. I've got to meet a lot of dignitaries and got to meet President Clinton when he came in. So through the job, I've got to meet a lot of exciting people and be part of a lot of exciting projects. So I've got a lot of special memories of different events within the town. It's been a very enjoyable time living here. One of the biggest strong points in the town of Barnstable is the involvement of the town in its own future. We do things here that you don't see other regions within the state doing much at all. We do planning, we have growth management, we have site plan review, we have a variety of different things that the town tries to manage and shape the growth of the town to make sure that it continues to live up to the expectations of the taxpayers and the occupants of the town, but also to make sure that we don't get overused in different ways, control growth, control the different things that happen. I've seen some other locations. My daughter went to college in Pennsylvania, and I see areas where you go down one year and it's all farmland, and you come in the next year and it's all strip malls at the expense of their Main Street businesses, which is a ghost town. So I see some nice management and efforts to balance things that come into the town to make sure they're a good fit, and I think that's huge. I think it's one of the best things that the town does. Well, that started a long time ago in the late 80s with a gentleman from the town named Joe Bartell. He was the first person, I believe, that managed site plan review. And it was a way to make sure that the different infrastructures that were going to be put in by a new renovation or a new construction met some type of standards, so that you had control over intersections, over drainage, over the traffic, different ideas like that. And that's held true to today. So it's not to say no, it's not to say yes, it's to say what is it that you want to do, and how can we make it so that it's not problematic, it doesn't exacerbate existing conditions, and it makes things run smoothly. And so it's grown over the course of time, and I think it's matured nicely. Absolutely, and it makes it a level playing field so that I don't sneak in the middle of the night, per se, and create a business, and you created one and you had to jump through hoops. Everybody's held to the same standard. It makes it work, and it allows us to grow without hopefully causing additional problems or making problems that we have worse. Everything evolves and grows, but I don't have any large complaints about anything that we're doing that would, be on a hot button list to say change. I think the number one challenge that we face in the town is the same challenge that we face on the Cape. We don't have that permanent infrastructure of industry or manufacturing or other businesses like that provide year-round employment and growth like other areas within the state. So we're losing the young kids, our demographics are changing, and because we're still that tourist industry, if you will, it makes it difficult. We don't have a lot of the high-value, high-dollar jobs of, say, the medical facilities, the electronics industry, the design engineering that other places that aren't on the Cape have. So I think that's one of our challenges, is making sure that we could attract and maintain, actually keep our kids here on the Cape and have a good workforce and look at things. We were in a meeting yesterday talking about the very same thing with folks from the school system and how the kids are going other places to seek employment. So it'd be nice to have a more rounded community, but it's a function of the Cape, and we're a little off the beaten path. I was very excited. It's long overdue. We've made, I think we've gotten our nickel out of the existing fire station. There's been some planning and everything that has gone along, and it's been a good fight, a good discussion point. Everybody's had their input, and I'm glad to see that the vote finally went through. So I was elated. It was also my birthday, so it was a nice little birthday present, if you will. But it's going to allow us to treat our members better. It's going to allow us to be more efficient in what we do. It's going to improve living conditions and working conditions within the station and make it better for the members. And that's going to make them better employees. So I think it's huge. In the long run, it'll allow us to meet some of the potential demands that, you can't really forecast. Who'd have thought we would have been as busy as we are today when that station was originally built, So it'll allow us to move into the future a little bit better prepared. Absolutely. The Cape led the state actually in the paramedic program back in the late 70s, early 80s. We were one of the first areas to really apply paramedicine for the public, and that's led us to quite a large volume of our calls are part of the EMS system, as is everywhere in the state for the fire departments that do EMS. But society's also changed in the way that they ask for services. So today versus 30 or 40 years ago, we generally look for more services from the fire department, from our EMS, than we did in the past. A lot of people self-transported. They may have tried to get a doctor to come to the house. Those things aren't available today. You end up with, here on the Cape especially, we don't have 24-hour primary care physicians available, so you end up having to visit the emergency center, especially in the evenings or holidays, to get a prescription for a medicine or whatever. And more often than not, more than any other time, we kind of rely on the ambulance to do that. Absolutely, we're very busy with them. Probably somewhere around 14 to 16 ambulance calls a day, I think, is the average right now. Last year we did just a little over 7,000 runs in the 1 year, and of course those folks are still doing firefighting, and that's changed in my career quite dramatically. The speed with which a fire spreads through a home now is more than 8 times faster than it did when I began my career. We've got a lot more plastics in our home, and we've got a lot more stuff. So there's just more things in the home. The homes are built, newer homes are built more wide open, which allows for less compartmentation, so a fire can spread faster through it. So the fires are burning more rapidly with a tremendously higher heat release rate. And the entire industry is evolving right now. There's a number of different debates as to the tactics and strategy that we use to attack structure fires today that are new. They've only been brought up in the last few years, and so we're seeing more aggressive fires when we see them, and needing more manpower, higher volumes of water to take under control. So it's an interesting time. Correct, yeah.
Why do you do that?
It's enjoyable, and it's a great way to actually learn. Skills unused oftentimes rust up a little bit. So one of the best ways to master a subject is to be able to detail it out and explain it while doing it, and that's really the definition of teaching. So I enjoy seeing the new members come up. It's fun to train them. I was just up at the Mass Fire Academy in Stowe this past weekend doing live burn training with some folks that are just coming and beginning to start their careers. They're doing their qualification burning. So it's interesting, it refreshes skills and keeps you up to speed on the new stuff that's coming along. I can't, I've always been interested in history, and I can't point to that one little moment that said I like history, but I just, my father's a World War II veteran, my uncle, and a lot of their friends, and we used to go over my uncle's house for family get-togethers, and you'd listen to the different stories, and I think that's probably what got me interested in history. And then as it relates to the project that you and I worked on, I realized one day living here in Barnstable that I didn't know any history behind the different stones that are out and about town. So right across from the fire station is Mahoney Square, and I had no idea what that meant. And I realized that back as a young kid in the town of Maynard, we used to have a Memorial Day parade and a Veterans Day parade, and the elementary school kids used to participate. We would march by grade and everything, and the teachers used that opportunity to tell us about the different memorial squares in town, you know. So they would say, okay, we're going to have a wreath laying at DeGrappo Square. Who is that? What's going on? And so once I realized that, I didn't know anything about any of the stones. I did my own personal project, go out, photograph the stone, get some information. And originally I tried to do it on Facebook and quiz people who were out there and say, do you know where this stone is? And that didn't work out really well because I got a lot of answers in Hyannis. But it spurred me on to do some information and learn about these folks and learn about some of the fascinating information that's available and some of the really, really interesting people that have preceded me in the town of Barnstable. And many of them served. A lot of the stones are regrettably dedicated to folks who passed in various conflicts, World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, etc. Some are business folks who just did a lot of good things for the town. And it's just interesting. And you know, I've got more research that I want to do. It's finding the time to get out there and sort these things out. Sure. We have 2 full-time fire inspectors that work for me, and they do a lot of inspections and they work with the business folks to do the compliance. But in the past couple of years, we've had a huge amount of new construction, renovation, change of use. So I try to deal with the major projects at least and the different changes. So we'll work with the folks that want to do something and work closely with the building department in particular to ensure that we're going to have something that gets built that's going to be code compliant, is going to work, and is going to be safe for the folks to occupy. So we have a hotel next to the mall that was really torn down and rebuilt. We have a new hotel just starting construction on Ocean Street, and we have the Cape Codder Hotel up on Iano Road that's doing a major renovation and adding a water park. So just right there in that one type of occupancy, we've got 3 major large-scale construction projects ongoing. Well, you've got a number of very specific issues that need to be looked at. In the case of that one, it's not just a gas station, it's a self-service gas station. So Massachusetts, and when we're doing these enforcements, it's not, or code compliance issues, it's not making it up as we go along, it's applying state code to a situation that's going to occur here in Hyannis. So we have to look and make sure that they're storing the fuel correctly. We have to actually issue permits for their ability to store fuel. And in the case of BJ's, they were changing the volumes that they needed. So that requires some conjoined work with our licensing division and the zoning board, because they had to get permission to change the quantities on site. And so there was an appearance before the licensing board as well as zoning, because they wanted to make sure that the fire department was okay with this, storing those quantities of gasoline was going to be acceptable. Then as the project moves on, we have to do a plans review to make sure that the systems are going to be installed to state code. And that's required for us to do it before then the state fire marshal looks at it. So our approval is required to be done before the marshal's office would even look at the plans. Then that comes back, and now we're in a process where they've got the underground tanks installed and they're moving along with their piping, and shortly they'll be building the above ground structures, and we'll have to go out and look at fire alarms and suppression systems and the different spill control equipment that they have on site to make sure that you have a seamless and non-eventful refueling operation. Most people take it all for granted. Massachusetts has some of the stricter codes for this in the nation. There's actually still a couple states that do not allow self-service fueling at all. So we need to make sure that it's all A, built correctly, so then B, it can be maintained correctly, and they can pass inspections that occur in the future. Absolutely. There's a tremendous amount of training that goes on, first off, for the members to keep their skills sharp. So that may not be obvious to folks. Some days they drive by and see the members with the aerial ladder up or something, and they realize we're training or checking the equipment. But they'll do that off-site. They'll do it in classrooms. They're taking college classes. And then the interface with the public, we're mandated to do certain inspections, again, by the state. So there's annual inspections for different places like liquor license assemblies, places where people congregate. We need to inspect those gas stations. When you sell your home, you need to get a smoke detected compliance inspection. Different types of equipment require fire safety inspections or permits, like cutting and welding in a building. We need to inspect the schools. I just came to you today from a series of meetings at Cape Cod Hospital. We're required to inspect properties like that on a quarterly basis to ensure that they're safe. And we have a great working relationship with Cape Cod Healthcare, so they include us early on in a lot of their construction project planning so that they don't have problems down the line. Then we do a lot of training for different folks. I've been out to Hyannis Yacht Club recently, the schools, Highline cruises. The members have been out to some of our elderly housing locations. We do babysitter training. So we'll do safety training and fire safety, fire prevention training for a variety of different groups, just about anybody that wants it. We participate in the town government educational program that Sue French offers. We go ahead and do a Kids Day annually out behind the Barnstable High School to show folks what we do and use the kids to educate the adults that bring them as to some of the things. And just about anything that's available we would go ahead and do. And then we do the code consulting, so you can ask us questions in advance of trying to do something and plan things out on paper, and we can erase mistakes instead of having it be a problem at the end of the day where huge amounts of money get spent. Never. That's why I like Hyannis. We're very busy. It's multi-dimensional. There's always something new that you've never seen before occurring. So, I mean, just this week, we had a trash barrel fire. Now, you can imagine how many trash barrel fires we probably respond to in a year. But the town purchased new trash barrels, and it's a compacting unit. It's a solar event, so the members went out there and it was like, what's this? We've never seen one of those before. So the training officer got involved, worked with the DPW, got some information. We now have access to the units, and who'd have thought after 30 plus years in the fire science, fire service, I'd be learning something new about trash barrel fires. So it's always cool. It's always fun. I have 32 here in Hyannis. I'm starting my 32nd year, and I've got about 6 years before I came here. Yeah, it would have been, I worked for Richard Fahrenkoff. He was the chief, and Buddy Mason, he was the deputy chief. I got hired as a lieutenant fire inspector as my starting position. No, I've done a bunch of things. Photography's a fun hobby for me, and that's led into some different fun things to do with it. When my daughter was on the Barnstable girls ice hockey team, I became the unofficial team photographer and traveled with the team and took pictures of the girls and produced some memorabilia for them at the end of the year. Did the same thing for the field hockey team. I've got a motorcycle. I enjoy riding the motorcycle around. Put those two passions together. I rode the motorcycle around to take pictures and learn about all the different memorials in town. And then my daughters have been involved with horses for a while. My youngest now works at a farm just off Cape, helping manage that horse farm. And so, go up and see the horses and just spend some good quality family time with my wife and two daughters. Well, I have one. They both still live with me, so they're still here in Hyannis. They're both looking, but they both work locally. Like I say, one in Bourne, but the other here, she's on West Barnstable Fire Department, and she works at the hospital in the emergency room. So we're keeping it local. Well, we've had a number of fairly large events, large fires that I've participated in. Cape Crossroads was a 4-alarm fire down there a number of years ago. We had a major fire at Cromwell Court just a little while ago. The job provides a lot of excitement on a day-to-day basis and is interesting. I would say probably one of the best or exciting or something you don't do every day was that I got to greet President Clinton when he flew in to meet with Senator Kennedy near the end of his second term. He came out, and that was something you don't get to do every day. Sure. My name's Dean Melanson, and I'm from Hyannis.